But that's the way I felt about it. So I was putting emotion. I put emotion behind most of my business decisions still. I maybe that's a bad thing, but I do. To this day still I do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we all do. Even the people that tell you they don't, they do. I've never met anybody that's a robot, you know?
Yeah. Well, speaking of emotional stuff that you were talking about, like, you brought up something obviously huge, which you sold your company, right? You sold Envisiontel, the company that I worked with you for, with you about to be successful. And, that obviously had to be, a mix of emotions, right? Probably a bunch of relief, obviously, because you no longer have to run and manage this company. But on top of that, it's probably also like, geez, this is what I've been literally living in for the last 10, 15 years or so. So, I mean, I don't know what you're allowed to talk about on that from when you sold it. And I know you just brought up a minute ago that you obviously left them, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I can give generalities. I don't think I'm under any NDAs, and the company that bought mine has since been sold. So
since we bought again,
yeah, I'm at 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to this thing now. So it doesn't really matter, I don't think. No, it's funny because I mean, the space that we were in, there's actually been a tremendous amount of consolidation happening, and I was kind of leading that charge because there were a lot of us out there in this managed service provider space around open source e-learning technologies, and we were kind of for sale, and we would go to trade shows basically with a big sign like, "Hey, come buy us." We were looking to exit mostly because we were bootstrapped, and that was getting really hard to do. It started out okay, but the more we became a software company, the more we were having to front money. Like when we were a pure project company, it was easy to go out and say, okay, we've got $1 million project. Here's what I need to go hire to fulfill that contract. And it was a little bit more of a, just buy what you need to satisfy a contract kind of thing. But once you get into the software world, you've got to make investment into infrastructure and into redundancies. And, it was more than what I had anticipated. Like you look at it and you model out here's what it's going to take to build it. Here's the type of revenue we'll need to make. And then, here's what we'll need cost wise for maintenance and upkeep and all that kind of stuff. And you try to plan it perfectly. And I think we did a pretty good job because we were always profitable. But if you make $1, you're profitable. But when you're an employee in your own company and your income requirements are higher than $1, that's when it starts to get more challenging. And so it just got to be really difficult to go make the type of money I now need to make because I've got kids approaching college, and my expenditures in life are much more these days than they were 10 or 15 years ago when we first kind of went down that road. So I had financial reasons why I needed to exit. So there was and we're talking emotion, right? So there was a little bit of emotionality in there. Is that a word, emotionality? It
sounds like a good one. I'm good with it.
I mean, we were definitely looking to do it. And once it happened, there was a part of me that was emotionally attached to it and like really struggling, which added to the struggles I had and more the reason why I knew I wasn't going to be long for the company that had acquired us, is they didn't really seem to have a lot of value in the things that we had built. They bought us for our customer base, and when you look back on it, they've since been acquired. Some of our other competitors have been acquired, and now there's new companies that are emerging in the space. And so there's been just a lot of roll up and a lot of kind of acquiring customers and that kind of stuff going on. But they didn't really buy us with strategic intentions in mind to take the proprietary products that we had built and wanting to push those things forward. And that I had more of an emotional reaction to that, like to see somebody not value the things that we had invested so much time and effort and money into building that we thought had such a big future. That was more devastating to me than getting fired or me having to let somebody go or anything like that. Like that was because that was new to me. I hadn't been through that kind of process. But with all that being said, the day they let me go might have been one of the happiest days of my life, because I no longer that was kind of the great eraser. It erased all my emotional attachment to everything I'd built. It was shocking how much anxiety I had knowing that I didn't make economic sense. You know what I mean? I hadn't ever been in a situation where I felt like I was just some cog and I wasn't making an impact on the bottom line or the top line. I was just kind of there. And that actually gave me more sleepless nights than, trying to figure out where payroll was going to come from next week, when I was dealing with that kind of stuff at my own company. So it was a roller coaster ride. But it was all good. Like when I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, made the right decision, got out at the right time because it was pre-pandemic. Obviously there was a flood of acquisitions coming, and we were kind of the domino that fell first. Which was funny because somebody had actually looked me in the face and said, there's going to be a bunch of roll-ups happening and you're going to be the first domino. I'm like, yeah, I figured that, which means we probably didn't make as much as other people did in the whole,
sure,
because we were the first ones to go, but we started the momentum,
Yeah. Yeah. No, and from that standpoint on the product itself, I mean, obviously I was there for the invention of, LMS checkout and things like that.
That was your name. You won the contest.
I know. Actually, I'm working with a new parent company, Learning Pool, right now. They're trying to get us to come on board as a partner, and going over stuff with them. And it's funny, I got introduced about, like, I was there at Envisiontel helping develop LMS checkout, and I was like, I'm actually the one that gave it the horrible name. And literally everybody was like, what? It was very. They're like, no, it's a good name, and I'm like, no, it was like this was a secondary third choice, like, because the other two domains were picked already. And
no, it was a good name. I mean, there was two ways you could go with that. Is come up with a name that was very obvious as to what it was, like the name of the product said what it did, which definitely helped drive leads. It probably wasn't as creative as original. Like the other route is to
it's terrible.
Come up with some kind of code name,
like Learnify or something like that.
Yeah, right? Learnly, Checkoutly or something like that.
Well, I mean, the problem is that it stumbled and happened here at Ken Cook as well with the naming. I literally come on board. We created this technical delivery system, or TDS, and it was like with the idea is like, look, I want to be able to help take our technical documentation and training and make it a quicker and easier way to do this stuff. I was like, so it's a technical delivery system because it's not an LMS. It's not, that's not really the goal there because it has like print and other things that are integrated into it. And I just called it technical delivery system. With the idea that we pay somebody else like to build it out, and it's now been 4 years and it's still the same name. It's I feel like was what LMS checkout felt like.
Some of it just becomes habit forming, right? You start down a certain path, and then it just takes. Most of the customers that we had liked the name. Like it was never a hindrance to us doing business. Let me put it.
All right.
So. All right.